Regular inspections and proper maintenance are critical to operating transports safely and efficiently. The Department of Transportation requires propane delivery drivers to inspect their vehicles and document all maintenance before driving on public roadways. Drivers must also be able to verify proper vehicle identification information, such as placards, markings, data plates, and required vehicle documentation. In this module, we will look at pre-trip and post-trip inspections, walk-around inspections, annual inspections, vehicle identification requirements, and documentation requirements. Inspecting your transport will help ensure the safety of yourself and the public. Your transport should be parked in a location away from people, vehicles, low-hanging wires or tree limbs, and any other potential hazards. As you approach your transport, look for obvious problems. Are there fluid leaks? Air leaks? Is it unlevel? Look, listen, and smell for propane leaks. Select the appropriate PPE needed to perform the inspections. See your supervisor for your company policy on what PPE should be used. Have a clean cloth handy to wipe the lights and reflectors. Also, have a tire pressure gauge available. There are several types of inspections required on a transport. The pre-trip inspection is done at the beginning of your workday. It allows you to find damaged or missing parts or other problems. Doing the inspection the same way every time helps you to remember how things should look, which makes it easier to tell if something is wrong. You start by reviewing the last Driver Vehicle Inspection Report, or DVIR. This report will let you know if there were any problems noted by the previous driver and if they were repaired. This is where you perform your vehicle inspection as you normally would. There's a common inspection routine that's recommended for any driver to follow. It breaks the inspection into logical segments, starting with a vehicle overview, then covering the engine compartment, inside the cab, a complete walk-around, including the coupling and trailer, signal lights, and the brake system. Whether you follow this sequence or that of your company, make sure all components are covered, and do your inspection the same way every time so nothing gets missed. As the driver of a tractor-trailer unit, you need to carefully inspect your vehicle. As the driver of a transport, you need to pay attention to a number of extra safety factors. Remember to pay close attention for any propane leaks as you complete your overall inspection. Look, listen, and smell for anything that might indicate a leak. Walk around the transport. Look for any components that are not connected correctly. Check to make sure lights are operating properly. Check the brake lights too. You may need to get help for this step. Find the inspection decal or decals on the side of the transport. An annual inspection is required by the DOT. Be sure that the decal, indicating that the inspection has been completed within the last year, is present and legible. See your supervisor if information is outdated or missing. Now you can begin checking the equipment. Look at your hose tubes to make sure they are securely attached and in good working condition. Check to be sure you have hoses that are free of leaks, significant bulging, or other defects. Check the conspicuity tape, commonly referred to as reflective tape, and placards, and replace them if they are faded, torn, or worn. With your gloves on, check bolts, seals, brakes, and springs. If installed, make sure the "Stop at Railroad Crossing" sign is legible. Check the fire extinguisher, make sure it is charged, has had its annual inspection, and in the proper location. Make sure components are not rusted. Remember to repeat this process with all extinguishers on the vehicle. Check the percentage gauge to see how much product is in the trailer. Check the temperature gauge and pressure gauge for serviceability. Make sure the fixed liquid level gauges are functional. Be sure you are wearing your protective gloves when doing this. Another type of inspection is the pre-transfer inspection. Again, you should always be looking and listening for propane leaks. To do the pre-transfer inspection, inspect your cargo tank discharge system and emergency discharge controls before transferring propane. Pay particular attention to the condition of the valves, fittings, cables, and hoses. Look for issues such as worn threads and missing O-rings. Consider making the pre-transfer inspection part of your routine pre-trip inspection to save time and unnecessary trips if there is a problem with the system. At the end of your shift, you perform your most comprehensive inspection, the post-trip inspection. Post-trip inspections are key to the inspection and maintenance process. After driving your vehicle all day, you may become aware of problems that have developed throughout the day. The DOT requires that you complete a written DVIR for each vehicle you operated at the end of your workday. You will look at all the parts of the transport you reviewed during the pre-trip inspection, including those related to propane delivery, and you'll list any defects that would affect the safe operation of your vehicle or result in a breakdown. If any repairs are needed, make sure to indicate this on the form so that the appropriate repairs can be made. By completing all of your inspections, you are making your transport safer for yourself and others, whether it's on the road or making a delivery. In addition to the previous inspections, a monthly inspection is also required. Besides items inspected on the normal pre-transfer inspection, you must also inspect the internal valves and the discharge system, including hoses and their assemblies. A copy of the inspection report is not required to be carried on the vehicle, but should be on file with your company. For complete lists on the different types of inspections, see your Transport Operator Training Handbook or supervisor. In addition to inspecting your transport's parts and systems, it is important to always check your vehicle for proper identification. Due to their cargo, transports must have additional required identification information that many tractor-trailers do not. This includes data plates, placards, markings, and proper shipping or common name of the cargo. A data plate must be displayed on your transport to provide information about the tank. It displays information about the container, including design codes, water capacity, and the manufacturer test date. Your transport may have 1 or 2 data plates with all the information. Be sure all data plates are legible. You must also have hazard class placards on your transport to provide information about the tank's contents. A propane transport will have a flammable Class II placard with either a 1075 or 1978 identification number. Placards are required on the front, back, and each side of your vehicle. They must indicate the hazard class or division and the identification number of the tank contents. Make sure the placard is no closer than 3 inches to any other marking or labeling. Also, any faded, missing, or illegible placards must be replaced before your transport is driven on the highway. Your transport is also required to have different markings that display the name of the contents you are hauling. These markings include the proper shipping name or the common name for the contents you are transporting. The proper shipping name or common name must be displayed on the front, back, and both sides of your cargo tank. Some specialized markings need to be on your transport. These include QT or NQT, at least 2 inches in height, emergency shutoff marking, at least 3/4 of an inch in height in contrasting color. Other specialized markings required by the DOT are the periodic cargo tank inspections. These include the 5-year or pressure test and internal inspection, or IP, and the annual or visual and leakage test, or VK. In addition to having your transport properly identified, you must carry the required vehicle documents. This includes your shipping papers, emergency response information, emergency discharge control procedures, and a hazmat certificate of registration. See your company policy for any additional documentation that may be required. Shipping papers include the identification number, the shipping name, hazard class division, and maximum quantity of propane. Shipping papers must be within immediate reach when you are wearing a seatbelt, and they must be readily visible or in a holder mounted on the inside of your door. They must be readily available to and recognizable by authorities in the event of an accident or inspection. You must also carry emergency response information. Emergency response information includes the basic description and technical name of the hazardous material, immediate hazards to health, risks of fire or explosion, immediate precautions to be taken in the event of an accident or incident, immediate methods for handling fires, initial methods for handling spills or leaks in the absence of fire, and preliminary first aid measures. The most common methods for providing the required emergency response information include listing it directly on the shipping papers, keeping a copy of the Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG, with the shipping papers, keeping a copy of the appropriate guide pages from the ERG with the shipping papers, The material's basic description and technical name must be included. Keeping a copy of the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS, also known as a Material Safety Data Sheet, with the shipping papers. The material's emergency response information must be included. The emergency discharge control procedures must also be carried in the vehicle. These procedures need to be specific to the vehicle and emergency shutdown system and procedures. See your supervisor for your company policy on handling emergency response information. Lastly, you are required to carry a current copy of the Hazmat Certificate of Registration or another document bearing the U.S. DOT Hazmat registration number in your transport. A safe transport requires regular inspections, proper vehicle identification, and the correct documentation.
It's important that you do a vehicle inspection. You're hauling a hazardous material. You're out into the public. And so it's very important that mechanically and everything of the vehicle is in proper working order. Also, the fines for DOT violations are very expensive to the company. And for safety reasons, safety is always at the top of the list. You have to have a safe piece of equipment to haul the propane up and down the road.